This is Dale Shin, LA Helpful Broker, real estate agent serving the LA area. Thanks for tuning in. And today we're going to talk about insurance, more specifically home insurance. And if you're a first-time buyer, you might be rudely awakened that during the home purchase process, you're informed that you're going to have to get home insurance or coverage for your new home. And so joining me today to talk about this is Brenden Morris of Farmers Insurance. Brenden, so glad to have you join us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great, thanks for being. I'm glad to be here. So we've been doing this for about 14 years. So we have a very large clientele base that range across the state of California in general. So we're not necessarily tied to just a local area around our office. So we can essentially help anyone throughout the state, which gives us a wide variety of clientele and different situations that we've dealt with. So hopefully we'll be able to give some great information to your audience.
Great. So Brenden, I understand that you do all types of insurance coverage. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we do the generic or general type items like home insurance, and there's a lot of different types of home products, whether it be a condo, a rental, an Airbnb. Each one has its own specific product that it needs to be properly covered. We do auto insurance. We do different life insurance products, depending on what type of product meets the client's needs. We do all types of business insurance, whether it be liability or property or work comp or auto or even professional. So we're fortunate that we have our property and casualty, which covers all of those things, as well as our life and health. And I also have my series license, which ties into some certain types of life products and or financial services to some degree.
Wow, that's great to know. So you covered all basically from like auto insurance, home insurance. Sounds like you cover commercial insurance as well as life insurance policies. That's really great to know. So just for like a homeowner who is suddenly told that they're going to have to get home insurance that they didn't know about, why is it a good idea to get insurance for your home?
Well, I mean, a home is probably our biggest asset that we're ever going to have, and so without insurance or without the proper insurance, you're putting that biggest asset at risk for a multitude of different claim potential things. So having the right insurance is also going to be required to close on that loan should you have a mortgage on that new house.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I just had to ask. Thanks for answering that. And for those homeowners who are like watching this video, maybe they're in the purchase process right now, is there a way that they can try to ballpark estimate how much the insurance policy might cost? And I know there's all different types of coverages, but let's just say the general typical policy that a homeowner would want to adequately cover their home. Is there a way to kind of ballpark estimate that cost?
Well, unfortunately, there's not. There's a lot of variables that go into calculating what the insurance cost would be, and the first set of those variables are based upon the characteristics of the property itself. So the size of what the square footage is, if it's 1 story or 2 story or so on. So all those things calculate into a reconstruction model, which determines how much coverage would be necessary to rebuild in the event of a total loss. So one of the things that we do to educate potential new homeowners is explain to them that the coverage that we're providing is based upon what it costs to rebuild the house, but it's not based upon the loan amount, the purchase price, or the appraisal, because all of those things take into account the land value, which we're not insuring, because if unfortunately the house were to burn to the ground, the land's still there. So we just have to rebuild the house itself. So unfortunately, there is not really a way to give a ballpark number. However, getting a quote in most circumstances is pretty quick and easy. And so we can kind of put those together within 10, 15 minutes in most situations.
Okay, great. So are there any tips you can offer for someone, let's say, who's buying a home or selling a home in terms of what types of insurance coverage they should get, or any kind of tips in general as regards to insurance and real estate?
Yeah, so we try to explain to what our referral partners, whether it be a real estate agent or a mortgage professional, that to get the insurance involved as early in the process as possible. So even if, as a real estate agent, if you're showing a home to a client, if they have an interest in the property, why not get an insurance quote? Because it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to give you an idea what the cost is actually going to be for that property to insure. But at the same time, it's going to tell you what the insurability of the property is. So certain locations or certain properties, based upon their location, may not be easily insurable because of a high fire risk or potential flood zone. So those things impact the price of the insurance as well, and which in the end could impact your buying power as a homeowner or a potential homeowner. The other thing is claims now on properties, they follow the property, but they also follow the person who filed the claim. So if someone's buying a property and they've never had a claim, if that selling homeowner has had some type of claim that's going to impact the cost of the insurance, that's going to affect the new homeowner. And so if you know that up front, that could change your mind potentially on whether you want to go forward with that home, or at least you'll know up front what potential claims there have been in the past on that property.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so if the home you're planning to buy had some claims before, that could affect your rate in your policy.
Yeah, and that eventually actually could impact what insurance carriers can provide coverage based upon those claims.
Wow, okay, so it's definitely a good idea to get your insurance agent involved early so that you can find out, first of all, if it can be covered by your insurance company, and how much it might cost just due to pre-existing conditions, I guess, so to speak, previous claims that the seller might have had on the home.
Exactly.
Okay, very good.
Situations where the selling homeowner could say, well, I have Farmers or one of the other major carriers, you can just go through them. Well, that may not always be the case because that house, that current homeowner may be grandfathered in under some type of policy that's no longer available. So you don't want to make that assumption either, that you can just go with whoever the current homeowner has, because maybe you don't qualify.
Good point. Good point. Great to keep these in mind, especially if you're a first-time buyer, or even if you're buying a new home. These are great tips for anyone, whether it's first time or 100th time buying a home. You mentioned very briefly about fires, and where the property is located will affect the insurability and the cost. And you mentioned fires, and as you know, right now there's some huge fires going on in other parts of the state, and pretty much every summer there are wildfires going on. Can you tell us a little bit about if those fires affect insurance? Because I did see an article the other day that premiums could go up because of these fires. Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are seeing here in California an increase in not only the number of wildfires, but the how large they are, and how devastating they have been. So, unfortunately, what that does is, if you have just a couple homes in a smaller situation, then it's an easier process to rebuild the house because materials are readily available. Qualified contractors are more available, so the process goes a little faster and a little smoother, and it falls more in line from a cost perspective on the insurance carrier side as well. When you have something large scale like the current Mendocino complex fire or the Thomas fire from last year, or earlier in the year, that though they're so devastating and so widespread that those things come into play where materials aren't as readily available, and so the cost gets driven up on those, and then the number of contractors that are qualified and skilled to rebuild the house are not available either. So what an insurance carrier ends up doing is having to eventually pay more to rebuild your house than what they would have otherwise had to have paid, which in turn is eventually going to drive up rates for everyone, because insurance is a pool, so we all contribute to that big pool to cover these big claims that someone may have, and so it does impact the process across the board. Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, these kind of disasters, I'm sure in other parts of the country where other types of disasters are more prevalent, that'll probably affect insurance coverage and rates and so forth.
Correct.
So that's good. Yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind. So I know you've been in insurance for quite some time. Can you tell us what is the most interesting or craziest claim or story you could tell us in your work in insurance?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of the generic I said generic because we deal with a large number of claims on a continuous basis. So car thefts that get found in another country at times. We've had we had one car claim where it was attacked by wild turkeys. And so
Wow.
we had to have that repainted entirely because they scratched up the paint across the car altogether. The water claims tend to be the biggest situation. They're not fancy or anything, but they do cause way more damage than someone would realize. A simple toilet issue that is part of a covered claim can easily be $100,000 because if they have hardwood floors and if you can't match it, they have to replace all of the flooring. So it drives up the cost significantly in that sense. We've had a Christmas tree catch on fire before. Which is obviously tough because it's obviously near the holidays, and so that's a tough time for everyone. And on the sadder side, we've had unfortunate people who have passed away, falling off ladders or in car accidents, and so you deal with, and I think that's where the difference comes into play when you're dealing with an insurance professional versus an online situation. You have someone that has the experience and the knowledge to walk you through the process and try and make it as simple as possible considering the situation versus a call center per se where you don't have a relationship and whatnot. So I think having someone that you can go to that's dedicated to your account makes a big difference to walk you through whether it's turkeys that are attacking your car because they're wild or something that's a little bit more typical.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that personal touch, that insurance agent there when you really need something, that's really good to know that you're available for your clients that way. Yes. Just about those turkeys, any idea as to why they were attacking that car?
It was in the Palm Springs area, so they're wild turkeys. I don't know. It's hard to say. Wild animals do what they want the way they want. We can't control that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any thoughts on how the real estate market is and where it might be headed that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'm not the expert in the real estate world. However, from what we can see on our end, the inventory is definitely lower, which is making it more of a seller's market and driving up the home prices. So things aren't sitting as long if they're priced correctly. And so if that's something that you're interested in, if you're in the market to buy, whether it be for your owner occupied or a rental, obviously get with an experienced real estate agent like yourself and get that insurance involved early on because you don't want to find out, a few days before escrow closes that the property is going to be tougher to insure, and then now you're running the risk of not getting the property at all. Great.
So is there any other information you'd like to share about yourself or your company? Anything special coming up?
We're definitely growing. We're bringing on a few new team members in the next couple of weeks. So we're looking to expand our agency, and you can check us out on Facebook at Brenden Morris Insurance Agency or BrendenMorris.com. We have a full slew of things to offer. So
great. All right, Brenden. Well, thanks again for joining us today and taking the time out of your busy day to speak with us briefly. If you have any questions about insurance, the whole range of insurance, please feel free to contact Brenden directly. His contact information will be in the information section below. Thanks again for tuning us. If you like this video, please give us a like, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks again, Brenden.
No problem. Thank you.